Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight another class in our series of classes on Scorpio ascendant and Mars and the different signs. Tonight we'll be doing Mars in Pisces, so you get a double water here, right? The ascendant Scorpio is in water, and Mars in Pisces is also in water, so the person is going to be a very emotional type of person. Right, the emotions play a major impact in his or her life, in her lifetime, and it's with the Scorpion, the emotions run very deep, and with the Mars in Pisces, it's gonna make him even deeper, and so it's very hard to explain exactly what Mars in Pisces wants, right? The Scorpio, we said, wants deep emotional experiences, and with Mars in Pisces, it gives a person a great understanding. I've seen people, I just did a girl actually a few days ago, a young girl about 16. I saw this aspect. I told her she has a very good psychological understanding of people. She could be an excellent psychologist. And you sort of see it here with that Mars in the 5th house. There's going to be well, it's a few things. Mars in Pisces gives a person in a way it's difficult because Mars works best like in Aries. So when you have it in Pisces, it's an internal type of Mars, where there's a trying to get to an understanding of things. Mars in Pisces really wants to get to a certain transcendental state where they can sort of get beyond their ego, in a way, the Mars in Pisces. And it can be difficult in that sense, that because Mars is very egotistical. So when they try to get beyond it, it's difficult. But they can be very good helpers of people. They can be they're very perceptive people, very deep. Mars in Pisces in the 5th with Scorpio ruling. That's the chess player. Right? Somebody who can look very deeply into and see many moves ahead. I'm going to show you someone tonight who was one of my teachers. He was, by the way, he was also a very important. He was a world-class chess player, and so you see it right away with that Mars in Pisces in the 5th, because you have to remember Mars being in the 5th house. The 5th house rules sport also. It rules sport, it rules games, it rules investments, it rules... The main ruling is children and romance, and also the theater. A secondary influence in sport, games, creativity, all of those things for somebody who's got their ruling planet in the 5th. Also a teacher, right? The 5th house is the teacher. And so it's all those indications are there with Mars in the 5th house. And being in Pisces, it's very hard to understand what a Pisces wants. The Pisces himself, I'm not sure he knows what he or she, that they know exactly what they want. It's they want to get to the soul of things. They want to get to the soul, that's... They want to get beyond themselves, and they want to understand the other people too. They want to get beyond themselves, and one of the way they can get beyond themselves is by understanding the others. I want to look at a chart tonight of my teacher in astrology. He was a very unusual man, very brilliant. He had a Scorpio rising, Mars in the 5th house in Pisces, together with Saturn. He also had Saturn in the 5th house. Saturn was actually in his 4th house, working for the 5th. And he had 4 planets in the 3rd house, a stellium in Capricorn. So he had 4 planets in Capricorn in the 3rd house. 3rd house is the house of knowledge, right? And he had Neptune in the 9th. So he had 5 planets working for the intellect. But anyway, that's not what we really want to go into tonight. We want to look more at the Mars. But wait, just one more thing. If you look, you see also he has the moon right on the ascendant, coming from the 9th house. And that's somebody who's given higher knowledge. Right? So it's a tremendously intellectual chart. He had the ruler of 9 on the ascendant and 5 planets in the 3rd and the 9th houses. And actually, if you count Pluto, Pluto is almost in the 9th house, and you could have even 6 houses in the 3rd and the 6 planets in the 3rd and the 9th. But if you look at his chart, he was the main thing is to look at is that Mars. So he was first of all in his youth he was very athletic. He was chess playing is athletic, and it was athletic, but it's a sport. And he was a weightlifter actually. Also, he said he could press his own body weight, and so he was very into athletics and sport. And he said he gave up chess because it wasn't serious enough, right? Because he had a very serious chart. 4 planets in Capricorn compete with the ascendant. His brother was the physician to the president of Liberia. And after the war, Mr. Mason went to visit his brother, and they offered him everything. They offered him as many wives as he wanted and all the money he wanted. And I guess he said he couldn't. They called him there the man who never smiled or something like that, and he said it was just, he couldn't take it, not doing anything all day. And so he moved to New York City. So that's the Saturn influence. And but in any case, though, the Mars, he has the Mars-Saturn conjunction, but in this case, the Mars is stronger than the Saturn. When you have a conjunction, maybe that's what we should talk about with his chart. A Mars-Saturn conjunction is very interesting. It's the sign. He used to say that's the Jewish sign. He said Mars, when you have the ruling planet in Mars and it's conjoined Saturn, or the ruling planet in Saturn and it's conjoined Mars. And that's the Jewish planet. And the Jews the timing is always off. The timing is off. Mars is too hot, Saturn is too cold, and they're always one pulling against the other, and they always do everything wrong at the wrong times. And that's Jewish history in a certain way. So it's like the 2 malefics together. And so he had that, and he had it working for the 5th house. He never had children. I guess his children were his students. He had an unbelievable amount of students that considered him their father. He was an excellent teacher. And you see that the Mars in the 5th house is the house of teaching, right? And his Mars was square Pluto, which is not so easy. He had a lot of difficulties in his lifetime. Somehow he managed to survive in Europe through the Holocaust and get out afterwards. But he did not have an easy life. But he became very wealthy. He became quite successful. He had a library, a tremendous library. He was also a book dealer. And he had one of the best libraries of mysticism, ancient mystic texts in the world. Today there's a big lawsuit going on between his first and second wife over who owns the library. And they're trying to, there's all sorts of, the legal case has been going on for years. But he was also a major book dealer. So in any case, we see that Saturn and the Mars conjunction it can be very difficult. You don't like to have two malefics in the same house. So he had the two malefics both working for the fifth, and it did prevent children. And I thank everybody for listening and hope they enjoyed the class.